that's the original record if it's got the feet on it, because that's the proof of life, essentially, that one. Because when they take your footprints, it's where are you standing? You're standing on paper, you're standing on water, you're standing on the land, right? So they don't like it when you put your footprints on documents, because then you're standing over them. And then the parental information is the one, depending on how they defined it. That's the record before the certificate, when you have parental information on it, especially if they've taken your blood sample on that document. So make sure that goes in a safe somewhere, fireproof safe. The other document you should be getting is the PNOB, Physician's Notice of Birth. That's the document that the doctor fills out prior to it going into the registry. That I believe is what they call the bill of lading for the delivery. That I know is very hard to get, but you can get that as well.
Okay, wait, I'm kind of getting a little bit confused. So I get, I'm not going to lose this document. It's very valuable. That it isn't mine. It belongs to my wife. So myself and both of all three of my offspring, we don't have any of these copies. Just my wife, for whatever reason, got this copy. And you're saying save it. I get it. Awesome. What would I ever be using it for then? Is there any process in this world that we're in now where it would come in handy?
From what I understand, and somebody else could have a different perspective on it, it's that as soon as you authenticate it, it makes you the holder in due course of all those instruments that related to that document, that were ever issued from that document. Because they're giving you, all these other things they're giving you are just abstracts. And an abstract, my partner looked that up yesterday, an abstract means theft. So they're actually stealing your birthright when you register. But the reason why they do that, because they have to give you a remedy, right? So Caesar took Christ's life, or the Romans took Christ's life in payment for all the debts. So as part of the contract, they had to bring a solution. So they've set up the Sesta KB Trust for when you were ready to take that over and inherit the earth, right? That's essentially what you do when you take that control, is you inherit the earth. So that's why you have to be ready to be able to manage your affairs competently. Just because you're over the age of 18 doesn't mean that you can manage your affairs properly. You see where I'm going?
Yes, I do. Real quick, can we do a point of clarification real quick? So,
original document, certificate of birth, or is it the one with the feet on it? Which one is the actual originating document?
You just cut out there. I didn't hear any of that. Can you repeat?
Aaron, are you still there?
We couldn't hear you. You went radio silent there for a minute.
Sorry. No, I was just saying, which one is the originating document? The one with the feet on it? I just wanted to get a clarification real quick. Or is it the certificate? Which one is the originating document?
What does the certificate say on it? It usually tells you what it is.
Yeah, the one that has the feet print on it only says birth certificate, and then it actually has a doctor's signature on it. And then the other document is called Certificate of Live Birth, and it's what the state of California issues to anyone when you ask for a birth certificate now. They'll issue only a certificate of live birth, mom's name, dad's name, signatures, and
okay. So the one with the doctor signature, that's likely an original record. That's before the certificate, before the extract. So the other one, the second one would be an extract of the original issue. So it sounds like she's got the original issue and the certificate.
Sure. That is correct. We hold both for her. But all the rest of us in the family, we only have our certificates of live birth.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, for me, because I may have mentioned this to you, but I was delivered by my father at home, and he signed on my original birth certificate, or the certificate of live birth, in the place of the father as informant and in the place of the doctor. And so I mentioned that to you before, but we were talking about that briefly before, and we were saying that doesn't really make any difference because he still registered me.
Well, I didn't understand that he signed as a doctor as well, the delivering agent. So that is he still alive?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Well, all he has to do is do an affidavit. In your case, this may not apply to everybody, but because he actually did the delivery, he was the receiving agent for on the land jurisdiction. So you could do an affidavit that I performed delivery of such and such living sentient. Do we want to call it child or baby? Right. Child. Child or offspring or even heir. Man-child. Yeah, that's another one. And make your own record on bill of lading. Because that gives you priority, that gives you original issue status. You know what I mean by that.
Yes, and so as far as this affidavit is concerned, I need to study, from what you're saying now, I kind of need to study up on what a bill of lading, the contents of a bill of lading, and try to fully understand what that is first before I decide to design this affidavit, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Just a sec. I'm just going to confer with my partner here.
All American ships.
Yeah. So check the Shipping Act, he's saying. So because in there, actually in the Shipping Act, was it 1935? What one was that?
An older 1925
Shipping Act, in and around there. And you'll see actually it says that they moved from the land jurisdiction under the sea jurisdiction. And it mentions how many shares there are for each entity, for each ship. Because there's 64 shares for each admiralty ship. So you have a claim on the land and you claim on the sea kind of thing, right? So you want to quiet the vessel. The vessel is what is your trading merchant essentially on the open seas of commerce.
Okay, and then the 1925 Act, is that a United States deal or is that Canadian?
That's U.S. He's gonna pull it. We actually have the book. Actually, we bought the book. If you go through old used bookstores, this is where we find a lot of. We've got hundreds and hundreds of old law books and
archives.org.
Oh, archives.org also is a. Yeah, go into archives.org and look under shipping acts, older shipping acts. So, this one is okay. This is the revised statutes of Canada, which is 1906, volume 3. But they're all the same, pretty much. So this was again revised statutes of Canada, 1906, volume 3. Is the one. So we're just gonna. Do you want to read out a excerpt?
Let me find it first.
Yeah. My partner's gonna find it and then we'll read it out to you guys so you can see. Okay. Put my glasses on too. But yeah, it sounds like you're in a unique situation where you actually have the original bill of lading and you have the extract version. So the extract version is the one I believe is the one that people are using for transfer of securities. Yeah, so this one here says an act respecting discipline on board of Canadian government vessels. And essentially, when you go into court, and there's a video circulating around about an old guard down at Washington, but they still have the gold fringe on the flag, and that still means that you're in Admiralty military courts type of thing. So, what else do you want me to read? This is just yeah, so every vessel employed by the Government of Canada, either temporarily or permanently, shall be deemed to belong, while still employed, to the Government of Canada for the purposes of this Act. Okay, so what do they issue? They issue the certificate, right?
You're a federal employee.
And you're a federal employee automatically by that certificate.
You're a seaman on the ship.
You're seaman on the ship.
Yeah.
So while he's locating that page, there's another question.
Does that mean the affidavit is filled out by my father? Is that kind of what am I saying that?
Yeah, because he's the one who did the delivery. He's the only one that can do it. And then the mother maybe as witness. Did they have a witness as well, or was it just him and her?
Yeah, the cool thing is my mom signed on my original certificate of live birth, her signature as mother, and then my dad as father, and then he re-signed as the doctor.
But you said he also signed some sort of a form that about being an informant.
Yes, because the line on the certificate of live birth that I have, it says father/informant.
You have to correct that record.
They went into form.
Yeah, he went into form. So you have to remove the informant name off the application. So you need to do a correction notice on it.
To the Department of Public Health of California, the people that issue it.
Yeah.
Vital statistics, maybe.
Yeah. Because you don't want to be confused that the father is admitting he's reported a criminal or a sinner coming onto the vessel ship, right?
Yes, I get it. Yep.
Because what is an informant defined as?
That's what you said, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Is that done in an affidavit form too, back to the California Department of Public Health or Vital Statistics?
Well, just
Or
a
is that a
notice
court
of mistake, notice of mistake and error. That's usually what I do, or notice of amendment. Please take notice that the such and such needs to be corrected. I didn't understand what it was at the time, and please make the correction on your records for the purposes of this. So on page 2 of this shipping, the revised statutes of Canada 1906. Page 2, section 8, near the bottom, it says, no officer of customs shall grant to any ship required under the provisions of the acts in the 2 last preceding sections mentioned, or under this part, to be registered a clearance for the purposes of enabling her to proceed on a voyage, unless the master of such ship, upon being required so to do, produces to him the proper certificate of registry. So essentially what they're saying is you have to bring forward a clearance certificate. So when you come into the courts, lots of times they call the judge a master, right? And so he's master of the admiralty ships. They're creating an act. So the terms they're using to call each other in the courtroom tells you what jurisdiction you're in. So as soon as they say the master, he's the master of the ship, and you're just coming in as a deckhand, right? and a lost at sea boy, right?
Yeah. That's why you'll never win.
Yeah, that's why you'll never win, unless you know how to turn that around. So they always give you clues about where you are, right? They can't advise you because right now you're deemed an enemy. You're an enemy of the state, even though you're employed by the state. You know, it's all these bullshit oxymorons that they try to define you as. At first, you know, that movie with Drew Barrymore, that Cinderella movie, it's so relevant what she says about they first make a thief and then they punish the thieves, for which the first education by the state provides them, right? So it's an entrapped involuntary servitude, really, when you look at it that way. Again, this is just one perspective. And also disregard, you know, whatever I say, there's always more information available to people. So don't take this all as gospel, because there's always more research. You know, I've got a lot of stuff in my brain that I could say, but you know, you don't want to overwhelm people when you're on these types of chats, because there's so much that could be said, right? So some things can be taken out of context. So that's why it's really important for you guys, whoever are listening, is to do your due diligence and to verify and take it beyond the chat, right? Or something that someone says, because there's always more to what someone says.
Yeah, perfect. Makes sense, and I appreciate Appreciate this greatly. Can I get back to the affidavit that my father will be filling out? We said that affidavit is going to be filed somewhere. Would I have that recorded on the land, sent to a judge, or maybe a judge or something? Or
You could, if you had a court procedure process, you could file it in there, and then you have a court stamp on it. You could open up a special cause file in the courts, which is your special cause file. You don't have to prosecute using that special cause, but you could use it as a way of recording things. You could also do it on land titles on the private side, but it's very difficult to get in there because you have, it's like they're guarding the tomb of the pharaohs there. They have all these lawyers that circle around the drain to make sure you don't get in there. So unless you know a way to get in on the private side of the land titles, have at her. And then just simply sending your affidavit to the appropriate ministries or state contacts, whoever's in charge of those things. And then you also want to do the UN, because the UN also oversees a lot of stuff. That's what I've done. And then it doesn't help, I guess, to, well, you're coming in, depending on whether you're coming in from statutorily or whether you're coming in from biblical. Biblical, you could take it to your archbishop, local archbishop, because they all work for the Pope, right? So even the Queen works, she's an agent for the Pope, and that's in the Church of England records. She's an agent for the Pope. So he's taking claim of everything. So ultimately, he's the master trustee administrating all this stuff. So, you know, give notice where you feel is appropriate. Now, mind you, don't want to, you know, if you've got private certificate information or birth stuff on there, you don't want to be sending it all over the place because it compromises your private information, right? So I always mark private, confidential, deposit, and special trust deposit. Not for public circulation. But the base record, you want to correct the record with tax agencies, and you want to correct the record with the Registrar General, whoever issued the certificate in the beginning. So those are the many different ways that you can give notice.
yeah, I'm just trying to stay clear. If we're talking about two different things right now, or if you're only talking about one thing and I'm thinking two. I thought we were talking only about my father correcting the record to say that I am not an informant. I am the doctor. I am the one that took delivery of this package. And then I thought you might have been talking about two different things, maybe something else that I was supposed to be doing personally with my certificate. Are we talking about two different things, or still on the affidavit basically of correcting my father?
Well, the affidavit can accomplish both of that. It can accomplish the notice of correction, and it can also establish amendments to the birth record. You know, you're not even supposed to be putting your first name on the birth record, because there's case law up here that says there's no provision in any law that requires you to put your first name on any of their documents, because that's the Christian name. That's the given name, right? That came before the surname, right? So then the surname is the trade name, which is their realm. That's their creation. So you're actually coming in with a mixed record. So you're of two minds if you wanted to technically look at it that way, but they had to give you a remedy. That's why they had to issue the certificate of trust, which it gives you entry into the Cesta KV, so that you could be the beneficiary of that, right? So you have to know how to operate within those worlds, or with that certificate.
Yeah. What name should be on the certificate of live birth? What should a parent, the father should have put?
Well, some people put baby and then a number, or just the surname. Because if you notice on mine, my surname, well, the surname that was given to me for my use, which is the trade name, is underlined. And under the United Nations birth record registration stuff, it says that when anything's underlined on a document, it's an error at law. So the surname shouldn't even be on the record, essentially, is what they're saying. So, but then there's case law that says that you shouldn't be putting your first name, it's all your given names on there. So you see how perplexing law can be. So what comes first, the chicken or the egg, really? And that's how you can get out of a lot of, you can frustrate contracts that way if the law in itself conflicts with each other, right? And that's why you go before judges so that they can make a determination of what takes priority. So, because you have to decide what law firm you're in.
Okay, makes sense. And as far as, like, for example, my wife, she was delivered by a regular doctor. The doctor signed on her certificate of live birth. Would there be a different process for hers? But basically, like we were talking about, mine it's kind of rare that the father actually signs on his own certificate of live birth. But for a normal person, would they have a totally different process trying to take back that from the doctor?
Well, there are forms actually when you take power of attorney over that name, you take administrative control over that name, then that's what you essentially should start with. And then there's so the tax form, I believe, in the United States is the power of attorney form, or I think there's an 8828 or something, or an what's that, W8 Ben or something, which is the beneficial owner entitlements form. That one. It's been a while since I looked at that form, so I believe it's a W8 Ben. So those forms those forms you can complete and then file those in, and then the tax agency has to correct the individual master file, right? For that you're the beneficial owner of that entity.
Excellent. And can I go back to something previous you said about authenticating real quick? You had to authenticate a document. It gives us ownership over it and whatnot. But are you saying that it's possible to authenticate the one with the baby's footprints on the back? Or were you saying that just goes in the safe, we never do anything with that? We would authenticate the certificate of live birth. Am I correct?
Well, the certificate is the one that usually most people use for conveyancing the securities transfer. To me, myself, I don't understand why people do that, because it's already got a seal on it. It's already got 2 signatures. It's already been authenticated by the registrar, that type of thing, right? And then it is an extract. But I believe what they're doing with the apostille or the authentication is that it makes it like an original when you do that authentication. So it was as if you were holding the original record, which means that you can do the enforcement on it. But I don't know, do you want to do the enforcement on it? Because it's their security stuff. You become liable for all that stuff. So if you assign it back, like JW talks about, then it's their responsibility as the securities transfer agents to deal with that, right? To make sure that those securities are wrapped up, and then you get your entitlements, all that kind of stuff. Because we have no idea what happens in the background, right? It's their system. They set it up. So, I'm not a mind reader, and then of course they don't disclose what happens in the backside. So it's their creation, and they're supposed to manage it. So there's ways of dealing with that. That would be my comments on it. There's a lot more I could say, but that goes into securities transfers and all that, and I think we've already talked about that in some of the other chats. JW and I have put some stuff out there too. So